If you're a fan of the Tennessee Titans, the Install Live Show with Greg Cosell of NFL Films coming up Saturday, May the 20th at the Hutton Hotel. Get your tickets right now at 1045thezone.com to hear the best breakdown of Will Levis.
Really, really excited and thankful for the opportunity.
And the rest of the Titans draft class. Good morning. Hope you had a great weekend. Lovely to have you here with Bert, Lucas, and myself. Next 3 hours, we got a bunch of Titans rookie camp stuff to talk about. You're going to hear from Mike Vrabel, Will Levis, his former offensive coordinator, Liam Cohen at Kentucky. We got a lot of things to discuss and break down throughout the course of today's show. Get in here if you want to, 615-737-1045. Jimmy Wyatt will be on the phone lines here in just about 20 minutes, and we'll talk about all these different things that we saw, Jimmy, myself, and all of our other Titans media colleagues who were out on the practice field on Saturday. How we living back there? How's the back room? Morale high?
Good morning.
How we feeling?
Bert called me yesterday to come help put his pool together. He got an above-ground pool.
Oh, okay. So now I want to start with this because we do have a lot of things to talk about. Anthony Carchi says, my flight is delayed, so now I get to listen. Well, I'm sorry for your flight situation, Anthony, but we're happy to have you either way. Bert tried to tell me this story last night because he teased it with, I am starting to rub off on him. So I would rather you provide the context to this, Bert.
I'm disappointed in myself. Honestly.
Love that for you.
So I haggled on Facebook Marketplace, got myself an above-ground pool, got it at a good price, and when I received it, I was expecting to get it in a box. You know what I mean? Like maybe it's put together, maybe it's got the instructions in it. I was gone over the weekend. I was in Knoxville. So the guy was like, hey, I'm going to drop it off at your house in any particular place you want it. I'm like, no, wherever's easiest for you. And then I get the picture, and it is just every piece of this pool unloaded in my front yard.
Good.
And it's poles, it's the liner, it's the top, it's the electric stuff, it's everything that comes with the pool. So I was like, you know what? I'm not dealing with this today. I'm going to move it all to my backyard, and I will deal with it Sunday. This is a Sunday project. And then I walked out there, and it was muddy, and it was gross, and I didn't have instructions, and I was just going to be wheeling and dealing, piecing this thing around myself. And I asked myself, what would Buck do? So I texted this guy and said, hey, can I pay you $40?
That's right.
To come put this thing together for me? And if I had a man card last week, I think I should turn it in. But I will say, it was very nice not having to worry about something. It was very nice being able to pay someone to do something that I did not want to do. And I'm slowly but surely coming around to, your way of thinking, Buck.
So what was your role in this? Because he did not pay you $40 to put the pool together.
No, he hit me up yesterday morning to come help him do it, and I said I can't.
I don't even want to look at him.
I got other things to do. But I called him back in the afternoon, said, hey, you still need help with that? And then he explained to me that he outsourced it.
Why didn't you call me?
Buddy.
Can you imagine?
Buddy. Buck? In the backyard? In the mud and the blood and the beer? No way.
I want nothing to do with any of those three. No mud, no blood, no beer. No, thank you.
No manual labor.
That's right.
No sweating. No outside.
Are you saying you have to fork over your man card? Is that what you're saying? What did we say?
Why? Because you worked smarter and not harder. That means the revocation of the man card. That's like these Music City Grand Prix things we're running that say, oh, wouldn't it be fun if you went to the race instead of reading? Like reading is such a bad thing. Have you heard this? Which, by the way, Music City Grand, I literally just heard it when I walked in here. Oh, Karen decided that she was going to read instead of going to the race. Okay, well then read on the way to the race.
Okay,
Relax.
I can confirm that watching cars go 188 miles an hour over the bridge to downtown Nashville is more fun than reading.
Sure.
But what was the item in your wallet, Bert, that we said was that qualified as your man card, your hunting and fishing license?
My lifetime hunting and fishing license.
I would like you to now hand your hunting and fishing license over to Lucas as a symbolic gesture.
Dang it.
For you joining the club of people who are willing to outsource manual labor. Because if that's what it takes to give up a man card, buddy, take all of mine. I don't care. Bert, I'm so glad that you've seen the light. You're going to be forever changed.
I don't think you have anything in your wallet that would qualify as a man card.
Only my driver's license, which in fact has my sex on it, which says male.
This has the M on it.
The rest is a couple of credit cards, a Kroger card, and that's about the extent of the contents of my wallet.
Fork it over, Bert.
I feel like I'm going to have to fork over 2 man cards because now I can't find my lifetime hunting and fishing license. I'm going to have to give you my...
Give him something for the Zone TV audience so we can pay this off.
It's my Plus member Sam's Club card.
Hand it over.
That counts. That's, in fact, quite more valuable than any man card that you might have. Look at he's showing it for the Zone TV audience. We now officially have Bert's man card. Congratulations to you.
This is nice.
I was about to say it looks nice. It looked like one of those like Amex platinum cards.
It's like sleek.
I'm a Plus member, man.
Look
like
at
a
you.
Black and gray, like shiny Sam's Club card.
Okay, good. That means it'll hurt worse to give it over to you. So now that's Lucas's, and we can move on with our day. Michael Wagner says Buck doesn't change his own flat tire. His main card is long gone. Hell no. I don't know how to change a tire.
Really?
Hell no.
It really is so easy.
Sure.
I feel like
so easy.
this needs to be a segment. We need to teach you how to change a tire.
You misunderstand me. Just because it's easy doesn't mean that I want to do it anyway. I would rather pay somebody to do it for me so I could go about doing something that I want to do with my time instead of changing the tire. Is that not the most logical thing in the world? Like, I don't understand why that's so hard to grasp.
I think you just don't want to get your hands dirty.
Hell no. No. Again, there is no shame in that. I don't want to do these things.
Man, if I had the hand soap that you had, I would get my hands dirty all the time.
Just to use the hand soap.
How great is the hand soap?
Incredible hand soap.
Yeah. Anyway, we've got stuff to talk about from Titans rookie minicamp. And I think the way to go about this is this way. We have a lot of different details to discuss. And I know probably the headline is going to be Will Levis today, right? Like if I came in here talking to you about Peter Skoronski at guard and Jalen Duncan at tackle, that might not be as intriguing to you, even though that's just as important as they figure out who can play on the offensive line right away. By the way, Skoronski, really, really nice out there. And primarily on the interior of the line, although he did work at both spots on the left side. As far as like what this looked like, it was 3 days of rookie minicamp, 1 day opened to the media. And there's only a certain point about the first 25 minutes that we're allowed to film. So that's why you see highlights coming from the team and not from us, for those of you who are asking, for like the crazy Josh Wiley catch that he made at the end of practice to end it 10 minutes early because it was a great completion from Levis to Wiley. Like that stuff's not out there from the media. But for having 1 day of practice out there, getting to meet these guys in person and all their different interactions and talking to the coaches throughout the rookie minicamp, it sounds like they were generally pleased with the way that this group came in, specifically the draft picks on their level of preparation, on their ability to operate cleanly and crisply, with minimal, I would say. There's obviously coaching moments, and not everybody's doing everything right out there. I'm not trying to paint you this rosy picture that does not exist. But on the whole, it sounds like it was generally well received. Now, I can speak to some of the specifics on all these players, and that's what we're going to do throughout the course of the day. In fact, we're going to do that with Jimmy Wyatt of TennesseeTitans.com here in just a second. But I think the biggest takeaway that I had is, if nothing else about Will Levis, the Titans, I feel, have a significantly better backup quarterback option behind Ryan Tannehill than they previously did. He had command. He had control. His ball placement and accuracy were not an issue on the one day that we were out there. And obviously, those are the biggest criticisms, right? Decision-making, ball placement. Well, maybe not ball placement, but decision-making and general accuracy has been the biggest criticism of Will Levis. Those were not issues on the day that we were out there to watch practice. And the way that he was able to operate and had that command and interacted well with his teammates, and you could tell that he was out there running the show. It spoke to, I think, an older player at the position, somebody who has been in that role in his collegiate career for quite some time at this point. And while he's, throwing completions on undrafted rookie free agents and tryout dudes, and it's going to get a hell of a lot harder this week because now the vets are in the building as of today, I think on the whole, the Will Levis experience through rookie minicamp, again, what's Coach Mack say? Keep your powder dry. It was generally received well. And I wonder, Lucas brought this up earlier on our pre-show call, and Lucas is one of these people, so perhaps I should be asking him, Levis hater, how do you feel about all the positive reports coming out of Titans rookie minicamp? Does it hurt you?
Don't paint me into that corner.
What do you mean?
Levis hater? What are you talking about?
Bert, why are you laughing?
He's been a fan of Levis since he got drafted.
No, you are supposed to help me here. I don't have access to the audio. I can't.
QB1. I've always thought he's QB1.
He's QB1. He's QB1 now.
But no, in all seriousness, I do know people that were screaming at their televisions when the Titans selected Will Levis, screaming in anger that after looking at 1 to 2 clips from rookie minicamp on Saturday, turned around on Sunday and said, yep, I'm in.
Your roommate.
Yeah, my roommate Blue.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, when I say people, that's usually who I mean.
That's correct. Blue is the voice of the people.
Yes.
But that was generally the reaction because people saw him throw a couple completions, and listen, the ball comes out of his hand nice. And that doesn't mean that Malik Willis can't bomb it down the field, too.
I was going to say, ball comes out of his hand nice, too.
No. That's completely fair, and that was my next point.
What do you remember about Malik's rookie minicamp?
What I remember about Malik's rookie minicamp is that they were not working with him on the mechanics of playing the position just yet. They were trying to get down the operation and the plays and all the different things that they're going to run. What I remember of Malik at rookie minicamp is that he can get it down the field without a problem. And it looks great. Like it was the same thing as the Senior Bowl and, watching him in moments at Liberty. But it wasn't, he wasn't being asked to do things within the structure truly of the system just yet. So I thought the best version of Malik Willis that I saw was rookie minicamp. But what I saw from Will Levis was a complete control of the environment and the atmosphere that he was in. And that on top of, hey, yeah, I know what I'm doing here. Like, I've run this offense before. We just call it different things. That all matters in the grand scheme of why they were trying to, if nothing else, make sure that they had a safety, just an option that was feasible behind Ryan Tannehill for this 1 year. And if he goes on to be the future of the franchise, that's cake. So we'll talk about this with Jimmy Wyatt. He's coming up next. We've got a lot of observations you're going to hear from Will Levis himself. I'm Buck Rising. It's 104.5 The Zone. All right, Jimmy Wyatt's going to be here in just a minute. We'll talk more rookie camp observations. Meantime, your phone call, 615-737-1045. You want to talk about this quarterback? Let's do it. Adrian in Columbia is up first. Good morning, Adrian.
Good morning. How's it going?
Going great.
Yes, sir. I just wanted to call in and say a couple of things real quick. First off, I wanted to say everybody's talking about Will Levis as a young Tannehill, and some people making jokes about it, but I don't think people understand. If a young Tannehill was on this Dolphins team right now, they'd probably be a Super Bowl contending team because the young Tannehill was throwing it. He just didn't have no receivers and no offensive line. And the second thing is, I just want to say everybody is in this microwave mentality right now, but I think people forget that the ideal situation for a transition quarterback is to have a good quarterback in place and let the young quarterback learn from him so when he starts, he'll be better. A lot of people's favorite quarterbacks, Drew Brees, Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, Steve McNair sat for 3 years. So this whole idea of trying to throw him into the fire, I think, is a bad idea because we're in a perfect situation if Will Levis is the future of the quarterback because we have a good quarterback that can win now, and Will Levis can learn how to be a pro and learn how to go from a week-to-week basis of learning how to prepare himself for games without having to.
Thank you, Adrian. That is 60 seconds on the clock, and not the least of which is because Jimmy Wyatt is on the line. We cannot hit Jimmy Wyatt with the Oscars music. Jimmy is above that. We're happy to have him. Of course, TennesseeTitans.com is where you can read him. At Jay Wyatt Sports is where you can follow him. I was pleasantly surprised to find out that Jim was on the radio show this morning because now we can bitch Jim about people not turning their alarms off at press conferences.
Yeah, that was an interesting that was rookie minicamp for you there. You had a couple of alarms go off and sounds on the phone, but I've done that before too. So I think I told you the minute I start making too much fuss about that, I'll probably get a call going off with my "I Love LA" ringtone. Nobody will hear that.
I need to hear the ringtone. I don't think that's ever happened. That's because you're a true pro. I've never heard that ringtone on your phone once.
Well, back in the day, when I think I was trained, and it has happened I take that back. I don't think I've let my phone go off. I've had my audio maybe go off sometimes, but I always remember when I first started covering the team and Jeff Fisher was the coach, and there was a square on top of the trash can in the team meeting room when we'd have the press conferences, and I always wondered what the heck the square was. And it was a square just like you see a square on top of a basketball goal right behind the rim, and that's where when somebody's phone went off, Jeff Fisher would take their phone and slam the wall and go into the trash can. I never saw him do it, but that's what he would tell the players that's what that square was for. And I always remember, don't be that guy where you're getting a call in the press conference, and that's my biggest fear is that's going to happen.
Jimmy Wyatt here with us on 104.5 The Zone. So, Jim, you obviously have a larger sample size than the rest of us, with one day really only open to media that way. But looking at what we saw from the young guys, from the tryout players, Levis is going to headline things. What did you make of the second-round pick?
Well, I will. I mean, I saw him playing college, but it's the first time I'd really seen him up close and in person. And I will say, I mean, physically, he. As you know, I mean, he looks the part. I mean, he's big, tall, physical, pretty well built.
I mean, the biceps are ridiculous. It's a giant. Yeah, I've never seen a vein that size on somebody's biceps. It was like I couldn't stop staring at it at the press conference.
Yeah, it was like you thought you were looking in the mirror, huh?
Yeah, that's in my dreams, Jim.
Yeah, so he looks the part, and I will say this: just his ability to just kind of flick his wrist and deliver the ball downfield. I mean, I was impressed with that. He's got a quick release, got a strong arm. He made some really good throws, and I was fortunate that I was able to watch him on the Friday session as well. And yeah, he made some throws where he is, putting the ball in tight spaces.
Mm-hmm.
And I know sometimes you do that and you get burned. And, so I think with the coaching staff, I was talking to somebody about him the other day, and you don't want to, some of those throws, there's like, oh, that's taking a chance, and he'll get burned in games like that trying to do that. But you don't want to scare him away from taking chances and losing his courage there. But I was impressed with just how he took off and ran sometimes, showed some athleticism. I thought he made some really good throws. I watched him, kind of tutor Mo Hassan a little bit, the rookie tryout quarterback who was, started off at Vanderbilt, finished at USC. He was in town for like a local pro day, and you could tell that that Levis was kind of trying to show him right from wrong on some things. So thought he showed some good leadership qualities there. He did have a mishandled snap right out of the gate, and certainly he's not perfect yet, but he's just throwing to these guys for the first time, and I think you got to give him a passing grade.
At J Wyatt Sports is where you can follow him. In fact, let's hear from Mike Vrabel with Jimmy on the line, talking about some of the throws, in particular the one throw that ended practice on Saturday afternoon.
Well, I would tell you that probably, again, the result was good. And there was a lot of great decisions, which we ask our quarterback to be able to do. But, that may not end as well with some other players when the veterans come in at OTA. So, again, it was great by Josh to be able to go. I think we'll just tell Will that, we got to be careful when we throw it into a team meeting. But it was a great job by Josh being able to track it and, ultimately end up with the catch.
That is Mike Vrabel. So that's what you're speaking to, Jimmy, right? It's going to be different. The vets are in the building as of today, and they'll start to integrate them here in the coming voluntary work and OTAs and things like that. He was operating with command and confidence, and he looked really crisp. But it's also tryout players and undrafted guys he's throwing on.
Yeah, and that's, and the speed's different, obviously, when the vets get here and their knowledge of what you're trying to do and anticipation and everything that goes with being in the league for a couple of years makes it more challenging on quarterbacks. But I think he'll settle in. I mean, you can tell, again, that he's working a pro-style offense. He has played at a high level against some really good competition. He'll make mistakes. Just like every rookie quarterback comes in here and makes mistakes, but I do think he shows some potential, and now I hope people give him a chance, because I know your airways have been filled with people dogging that pick and dogging him, and silly talk about people abandoning the team or no longer cheering for the team because they picked Will Levis. I mean, you got to give him a chance, and I think he'll dig in and as a competitor probably take that. Well, I'll show, I'll have to prove myself and show some of these people that are doubting me that what I'm all about.
Do you feel bad, Lucas? Because Jimmy's talking to you. You are the people that he's talking about. You.
How many times do we have to go over this with you?
What, you lying to people actively on the air about how you feel about Will Levis now that he's actually here?
Show me the proof. Show me the proof that I was saying Will Levis was not QB1.
I can't. You
can't.
have access to the
You
audio
don't have
files,
the
and I do
ability to
not.
do that.
Jimmy, he's the problem. I have one of them among me.
Well, what's funny, and I can't deny myself that I certainly had in this pre-draft process. People asked me to rank the quarterbacks. I think I was on 3HL and they asked me to rank the quarterbacks, and I went Bryce Young and I went C.J. Stroud. I went. So I went. Who am I leaving out? I went.
Anthony
Young,
Richardson.
Yeah, I went Young, Stroud, Richardson, Hooker, and Levis is the order I went in myself, and that's based on what I saw from Levis last year, and he loses points in my book by being a Kentucky guy too. Because if you're a Vanderbilt fan, and obviously Tennessee fans feel the same way.
Well, you got his ass, Jimmy. You got him. Vandy got him.
Yeah. So, but I also, with that said, I'm basing a lot of that off of last year, and I do think some of the criticism was unfair comparing Hooker to him last year, because look at Hooker. I mean, Hooker's throwing to two guys that were drafted. He had a top 10 offensive lineman playing in front of him. Look at what Levis was working with. He's throwing to a bunch of rookie receivers, an offensive line that couldn't protect him. Kentucky was overhyped last year, and they've fell short of expectations. So you can't base him off of how he did last year because his personnel wasn't as good as what Hooker had to work with. Now he's here, and that what happened in the past doesn't really matter anymore. All that matters is what he does in the league, and physically, again, I think he looks the part. I think he's got the arm. I think he's got some great leadership qualities. I've talked to more people about his makeup and spent a little time with him myself at the draft, and then a couple of opportunities here, and my opinion on him has changed a little bit, and that's partly because he's got a clean slate.
Well, and that's the thing. Like, I kind of went in there on Saturday feeling the same way, Jimmy. Like, I try not to let things color my perception of people or, whatever the case may be prior to having an experience with them myself. But, like, I kind of came in there, particularly in the press conference. Like, I thought the way that he carried himself at the press conference, Jimmy, he just looked so much more comfortable than in any other setting that we've seen him. And obviously, a nationally televised draft fall is going to be uncomfortable for anybody. But the command on the field, the way that he interacted with the coaches and teammates, how he handled us afterwards, like it felt like I was dealing with a vet. Did it not? Am I being hyperbolic there?
Yeah, and I think quarterbacks are different because they do have a little bit of a swagger about them. They've dealt with media more than anybody. They have dealt with that since high school and going into college. And so they have faced a lot of the harder questions. And I do think, just me and my first interaction with him in Kansas City was at a Play 60 event where all the prospects were there, and he drew a pretty good crowd and certainly got a lot of questions, some of them uncomfortable, and I thought he handled himself well. There was a kid there that was part of that Play 60 group that was trying to get a picture with him, and a couple of kids trying to get autographs with him, and he was trying to fulfill his media obligations there, and these kids were trying to be patient, and he saw him out of the corner of his eye. And I've told this story before. He saw him out of the corner of his eye, and they were getting ready to leave, and he kind of put his hand on the head of one of these kids and told him, "Hey, just give me a minute and I'll get to you." And then he took a break from everything he was there for. After practice, he was doing the media to spend time with a couple of these kids, and they went right back to it. So I thought, this nice kid, certainly had a different feeling about him after that and just how he answered questions. And I think Saturday, when we all talked to him, I agree. I thought he handled himself like a pro, and, hopefully people give him a chance.
Jim Wyatt here with us on 104.5 The Zone. Of course, you can read Jimmy's observations from Titans rookie minicamp. There are many, and of course, everything else, the mailbag that he writes at TennesseeTitans.com. Colton Dowell, I know there's a lot of other stuff that we don't necessarily have the time to cover, Jimmy, but Colton Dowell, he was somebody who everybody had eyes on, and in particular, when he's doing the ladder drill, he trips and falls. Mike Vrabel is hovering over the receivers at the time, and it's obviously a coaching moment that we've seen before and we'll see again, but Colton Dowell, I thought, handled himself throughout the course of that pretty well, and you could tell that it's a new atmosphere, a new environment for these guys, but he was somebody who seemed to kind of take that coaching moment in a way that was, I just thought he handled himself well, is what I'm trying to say poorly.
Yeah, and that was an embarrassing moment for him. I mean, it was right in front of us, right in front of, as you mentioned, Vrabel. He hit the ground hard, and I'm sure he's thinking, "Oh gosh, this is not how I wanted to start here." But yeah, he laughed it off. I mean, he wasn't defensive when he was asked about it. I thought he showed some good humor. He said it just kind of the moment he'll point to just to show, "Hey, I've got a ways to go. I'm a rookie," and and things are different with him as well because he's picked at a position where people know that he has an opportunity to come in here and compete and earn some playing time. And so that his clock is sped up, compared to some of these other people, even though he's a 7th-round pick. But, I like the looks of what I saw from him just from a physical standpoint. And I'll be curious to see how he does from when the veterans challenge him and he gets jostled around a little bit. That stuff won't really happen with camp. But curious to see how he rises up there against the competition.
He's Jim Wyatt. He's the best at J Wyatt Sports, where you follow him. Jimmy, thank you for taking some time as always. It's good to chat.
Okay, Buck. Have a great week. Thank you.
That's Jimmy. So there's a lot of other stuff. Obviously, we spent a ton of time on Levis, but that I think is the center of most people's attention. And there's some stuff to talk about with Peter Skoronski and Jalen Duncan in particular too. But Colton Dowell, I think the way that Wyatt put it correctly, and we'll spend some more time on this at 11:20. Does he have higher expectations than your average 7th round pick?
Maybe not expectations. Maybe pressure is the word. Maybe there's more pressure on Colton Dowell than would be normal for a 7th round pick out of UT Martin.
I like that. I like that framing by you. There's a lot of pressure on him,
and it's not even that it's on him. It's that it's on the Titans, right? But it just gets shared to him because it's okay. You waited until the 7th round. You're telling us that this is going to be good enough. That 7th round pick better work out, is what Titans fans will be thinking about this wide receiver room, and that's no fault of Colton Dowell's, but it kind of gets passed off to him a little bit.
And he's coming into a wide receiver room where people are used to doing that to them anyway, right? It's NWI. NWI is an undrafted rookie free agent. He has made it. He's made it longer than the average NFL career at this point, and he started a lot of meaningful games for a team that is consistently in playoff contention. And people, rip NWI when all he's done is beat out everybody else. Just because the Titans wide receiver room is lacking. It's that kind of framing is the way that I put it. Because for somebody with his background, NWI is a huge success.
He has outperformed any expectations anybody would have had of him coming out of Indiana as a UDFA.
I'm telling you, and I don't say this in a mean way, but he was a legitimate running joke that year at training camp because of how poorly he caught the football. He did not catch the football. It looked like he was hand fighting with it. And this man, that's what I'm saying. Like, context is everything. But for Dowell, the pressure is substantially higher. Now, something else that Wyatt brought up that I thought was funny, and Jael speaks to that effect on the Zone TV chat. You can interact with the show on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. He writes, just wait till Levis wears a UK shirt during a press conference. UT fans are going to go crazy. Are the Tennessee fans that hate this guy just going to hate him? Because not all Tennessee Vols fans are Tennessee Titans fans, and certainly not all Titans fans are Vols fans. So there is that divide that you're working against anyway. But we talked about how hard of a landing spot this is for Will Levis specifically because of the geography here, because of where he played college and who it is that he played against.
From a PR standpoint.
And what these people know about him already. He's fighting uphill out the gate. Was one day of good reports about him enough to turn people like Blue? Blue didn't like your roommate Blue didn't like the pick, sees all the videos at practice, oh my God, this guy's a giant. He can whip the ball down the field. I love him. Will Levis for president. What percentage of people that were ripping the Titans for taking the Kentucky quarterback, not just because he's the Kentucky quarterback, because he was taken substantially ahead of Hendon Hooker, what percentage do you think turned tail after Saturday?
Probably a pretty healthy percentage. And I think there was also a healthy percentage that after the pick, after a couple of days to let it kind of marinate following the draft, said, okay, you know what? He's our guy. So what's the point in going back and keep refreshing that pre-draft conversation about what he did in 2022? You might as well move forward. I do think there are a lot of people that, all right, well, they drafted him, so I'm behind him now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Didn't want him to draft him, but they did, so what am I going to do?
Tennessee Backroad says 90%. Football Fred says, I'd say 65%, including me.
I mean, if Will Levis went to Texas Tech, the discourse would be very different, right? It would be as optimistic as it was super optimistic around the league. Yeah, even if the tape was all the exact same. That's the tape, right. The numbers, everything. The problem for Will is that every single bad play and bad moment of his college career was under a massive spotlight and magnifying glass right here in Nashville, in Knoxville, in Tennessee, because it happened against Tennessee. It happened against Vanderbilt. It happened against other SEC programs. We watched it all unfold. That's the unfortunate thing for Will Levis. Which is why you are a Levis hater, and now you are one of these turntail cowards who has put themselves in the 65 or even 90%. No, I obviously had my major concerns about Will Levis coming out of college. I have those concerns. I still have those concerns, but you can also understand the Titans' thought process. Like, I'm not upset the Titans didn't take Hooker over Levis. That part I understand.
Sure.
Like, I think that is just, it's not that black and white to just call and say, I can't believe they left Hooker on the board. It's very, very easy to understand why they did not take Hooker instead of Levis. But you can still have your concerns about Levis.
I think Will Anderson, 1983, is writing in a font that would connote sarcasm. He says, I thought Levis was a bust, but that's before I knew he was an absolute stud. Hashtag tighten up.
Michael says, every 104.5 The Zone show, he says none of the Zone shows had anything good to say about Levis before the Titans drafted him. Y'all all fake.
Oh, no. I have been consistent on this point. We're trying to get him on the show this week, and I know we have to go to break because we've gone long here. We're trying to get him on the show this week, and I have told you from the start, I wanted Will Levis here because it's the best thing for sports talk radio. My intentions have been pure the entire time. He is the quarterback that I most wanted drafted to the Tennessee Titans because I knew that I had 3 months of football this summer that I had to get through. And you know what makes that a lot better? A polarizing quarterback, especially a rookie coming in behind a veteran with an expiring deal. Mwah! Chef's kiss. 615-737-1045 is how you join the discussion. An interest, speaking of quarterbacks, some quarterback carousel stuff that has taken a turn into the world of television. We'll explain to you what's going on with Tom Brady and Matt Ryan coming up next. Welcome back to the show. We're talking a lot about draft prospects. Speaking of draft prospects, it's live show week, kids. We got the Install live show coming up on Saturday. Greg is flying in Friday night. He's going to the Billy Joel Stevie Nicks concert, and then him, me, a cast of, maybe thousands is excessive. I think the place only seats 250, but a cast of hundreds, let's say, at the Analog in the Hutton Hotel, Saturday, May the 20th. There are still tickets available, though you guys have bought a considerable amount of tickets, for which we are extremely grateful. It's going to be a really cool event. We've got a lot of stuff planned for it, and, there's a full bar. So if nothing else, you can tie one on and enjoy hanging out with your favorite Titans friends, because a lot of Titans fans and a lot of Titans fans support groups. Like the ladies of the Tennessee Titans, they're going to have a table of 4 there, which is fun. We like things like that. So if you are somebody who's in one of these groups and want to come with some of your supporter, do they call them? They don't call them supporter groups in football. That's soccer, Lucas. What is the proper term
For football?
Yeah, is there because it's just fan groups.
I guess.
All right. Well, if you got people in a fan group you want to come with, we got tickets. There's 250 people in that joint. We could, we could probably get pretty close. I think we could get pretty close, but I haven't been able to think of any proper motivation to help put people over the hump. Because I've got a skydiving thing planned, but I'm probably going to save that for charity. As I say that into a microphone before asking our bosses about it. I will. I'll have to send a text now at this point, but that's months away, so we have time. I'm trying to think of a way to properly motivate people, because I do think that we're capable of a sellout in a venue like this. You guys have any thoughts?
Not particularly.
No.
Didn't you come on Blaine and Mickey and say you'd eat a whole ass banana, peel and all?
I did say that on Friday.
Does that include the stem? You would eat the stem as well?
Is the stem even something that is able to be eaten?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Ain't nothing wrong with that.
What am I going to cut it up like carrots?
No,
like carrot slices?
It's just fibrous material. You just keep on yanking on it, and then eventually you'll be able to swallow it.
Okay.
Why would you eat a banana?
Well, because Will Levis, and we're going to be breaking down. There's going to be, Will Levis is going to be prominently featured. Greg's been talking to a lot of people around the NFL and college, and in the league about Levis, because he's got some really unique observations to bring for the live show while we break down the tape and stuff. I could, coming back from one of the intermissions, I could pay people off by eating a whole banana on stage.
But why?
Because people like to see us do terrible things. Why would we do the hot chip challenge? Do you know, we
sell tickets.
You lost a bet.
What I'm saying is, if they buy 50 tickets, if we sell this thing out, if people buy 50 tickets, I'll eat the damn banana on stage.
I see what you're saying. If you sell out the tickets, you'll eat the banana.
With Greg Cosell.
Yes.
So Greg will be there beside you as you're eating
the banana.
How many tickets?
50.
Whoa.
Yeah.
I would do it for 5.
Stokely on YouTube says Buck has to put the banana stem in like a dip and then leave it in his lip for the whole show so it softens up and then suck it down.
Okay, that's super descriptive.
No, I feel like that was a good idea.
So so 50 tickets is a lot, but listen, if we're pitching a sellout, then I feel like it's got to be worth it. And this sounds particularly unpleasant. I'd rather do the chip again than eat a banana.
No, you would.
The banana peel sounds waxy and unpleasant, and there's a reason that people don't eat these things. It's like shrimp shells. If you eat shrimp shells, you're a psychopath.
There ain't nothing wrong with that.
That's exactly my point.
Do you eat peanut shells?
Look who your ally is. If you eat shrimp shells, look who just came to your defense to the microphone.
I eat peanut shells sometimes.
There ain't nothing wrong with that either. Fibrous material.
Just eat the whole peanut.
Fibrous material. So yes, if we sell this thing out, 50 tickets. I get a ticket update every day, so I'll be able to tell you if we do this or not. Greg has been concerned because we tag him in these tweets. Greg is concerned. He literally said, "Don't prostitute yourself out for this thing." And I said, "But Greg, it's the only way I know how to do these."
He said it's far too late for that.
I've been selling my body for clout for years. Why would I stop now? At least this is to our benefit.
When Buck said sell out, he was not talking about the show. He was talking about himself.
No, God.
He would sell himself out.
I've never lied. there are two things that I've been infinitely honest about. One, that I don't want to do manual labor in any stretch of the imagination, and I will pay just about anything to not have to do it for myself. And two, I have zero shame. Like, I will completely sell out in any stretch of the imagination, especially if we got tickets to sell. So for a sellout, I'm down to eat the banana. Bert, do you want to eat the banana, or do you want to do the mayo coffee?
You're just presenting both to me. Like,
Well, you keep volunteering yourself, so I might as well, I don't want to do this lonely. It was so lonely last time. Me gasping for air while the two of you giggled back there by yourselves, watching me choke to death on that damn ghost pepper chip.
Mayo coffee, way easier than eating an entire banana peel.
No, I love coffee too much. I can't ruin coffee.
I'll do the mayo coffee.
You'll do the mayo coffee?
That doesn't bother me. Do I have to do that at the install?
No, I guess we would probably, yeah, because you're coming, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I'll be there.
All right. I will make sure we have a green room. There's a refrigerator. I'll make sure your mayonnaise is refrigerated and your coffee is fresh.
No, BYOM. Bring your own mayonnaise. I'll do it.
Okay. Football Fred says he agrees with Cosell. I'm prostituting myself out for this. I don't care. As long as everybody has fun, I don't care. I think that these kind of things are always enjoyable, and if we can have a little fun at my expense, why not? People like to see me. People like to see me in unpleasant situations. So if there wasn't a demand for it, I wouldn't be encouraged to do things like this.
No, but only if it's actually unpleasant. Like, too often you put yourself in unpleasant situations where, yeah, it's unpleasant, but you're also enjoying it because of the attention you're getting. The chip was unpleasant enough to where I could tell you were not enjoying any of the attention because the chip was just that painful. I feel like the banana is not unpleasant enough to where I think you would still enjoy the attention and all the eyeballs on you. Like at the combine, where you're like, Kirby, film me eating this shrimp cocktail at 8 a.m. in the morning.
Yeah,
it's so gross, Kirby. Get that camera out of my face.
Well, what happened?
Yeah, it's
what
unpleasant.
happened, though? You're leaving out some important details. My intentions were completely to have Kirby publicize this for, clicks and things like that. That was fine until I realized my mistake, being horribly hungover with a righteous headache. Eating, you did it smartly. You did it in pieces. I just ate the whole shrimp.
Yeah, because I didn't know we were going to
be.
be filmed. I was like, oh, great, shrimp cocktail. And I was just enjoying shrimp cocktail.
No.
I didn't know there would be a camera in my face.
There can be no enjoyment that does not result in something for the show.
That's like a mental disorder that you have.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
You can't.
I'm diagnosed,
You cannot
baby.
enjoy something without showing everybody.
You two try to tell me things all the time, and I shut you up because I say, I don't want to do this right now. Save it for when we're being paid to tell stories. That's the time. It is a disorder. All right, let's get back to Titans rookie minicamp. We've got Will Levis audio. You're going to hear from the new Titans quarterback. We'll also discuss Colton Dowell and the increased pressure on a seventh-round wide receiver given the spot that he got drafted to. I'm Buck Rising. It's 104.5 The Zone.
It is 11:02. Good morning from the Superbook.com Sports Desk. I'm Lucas Panzica. Titans rookies took the field Saturday for rookie minicamp at Ascension St. Thomas Sports Park. They met with the media following practice, and quarterback Will Levis discussed how much of the pro-style offense he ran at Kentucky has carried over to the NFL.
A good amount. I mean, it's there's some you can fall into the traps of. This is what we called this at Kentucky, so that's what I want to call it in my mind, You got to erase that. You got to erase everything in the past, and you got to put it in the language of how we call it. So, I mean, that's been the biggest thing for me.
NBA playoffs, the Celtics routed the Sixers at home in Game 7, 112-88, stamping their ticket to the Eastern Conference semifinals, where they will face the Miami Heat starting Wednesday. Lakers and Nuggets start their Western Conference Final Series on Tuesday. College baseball, Tennessee could not get the sweep, falling 10-0 to Kentucky at home on Sunday. The Vols did get the series win with wins on Friday and Saturday. They are 14-13 in SEC play with one regular season series remaining. Vanderbilt swept at Florida over the weekend, a 6-2 loss on Sunday. They fall to 17-10 in SEC play. National Soccer Club's unbeaten run went up to 6 games in all competition Saturday, a 1-1 draw at DC United. They return home Wednesday, hosting Inter Miami in MLS regular season play. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Second hour underway. Happy Monday to you. Thanks for hanging out with us. We've got you until 1 o'clock. That's Bert, Lucas, and myself. You can be a part of the proceedings if you would like to. 615-737-1045. You can join our discussion about Titans rookie minicamp. A lot we learned. Only 1 day of media availability and 3 total days of on-field work, but it was lovely to be back at the practice facility. Get back in the swing of things. Start learning new faces, new names, new numbers, and kind of see how these guys can start to contribute on this football team. So we brought up the name of Colton Dowell, the 7th-round wide receiver out of UT Martin, which is ironic given that he just spoke on Saturday about wanting to make a name for UT Martin and smaller schools by succeeding at the NFL level, and then I immediately said UT Chat. So that's my bad. But Lucas brought up pressure on Colton Dowell, a heightened level of pressure on Colton Dowell as a 7th-round wide receiver because of where he was drafted to. Now, people are disagreeing with this notion right out of the gate. Charles Floyd on the Zone TV chat writes, he's a 7th-round pick, speaking of Colton Dowell. Fans don't expect anything. The pressure is just Buck's narrative for a talking point. Do you like how your talking point has turned into my narrative?
I appreciate that.
You feel good about that?
And then 3 comments later, Stokely in the chat says, Dowell is the chosen one. It was said he would restore balance to the receiver room.
That is correct.
So here's what we're talking about. It's not about Colton Dowell and the pressure on him as a player. It's about the pressure on the Titans and Rand Carthon and Mike Vrabel on saying no to the wide receiver position until day 3 and their final opportunity to do so when they finally chose to take a receiver in Colton Dowell.
Correct. But how many people are going to remember that if he runs the wrong route that leads to an interception, or if he has a bobbled, he has a completion in his hands, he bobbles it, or maybe it bounces off his shoulder pad for an interception? Like, how many people are going to have that discerning mindset when Colton Dowell makes a mistake, inevitably, as all players do in any sport? Are they going to they might rip the Titans later, but in that instant, all of that angst and all of that built-up discontent from Titans fans who are dissatisfied with the wide receiver room, that's not going to be directed at them. It's going to be directed at him.
The closest example I can think of is Des Fitzpatrick, where similar narrative, right? Like, everybody expected the Titans to take receiver was a need going into that 2021 draft, correct? 2021 NFL draft.
Yeah.
They don't take a receiver in the 3rd round. They take Monty Rice out of Georgia. They wait until the 4th round when they trade up to get Des Fitzpatrick.
Was Monty and Elijah Molden the same draft?
I believe so.
So they were both third-round picks. I think Monty was compensatory.
Right. So people are just it was very similar. People are waiting for them to draft a receiver, and I think that Monty Rice pick in the third was that head-scratching moment for a lot of Titans fans that said, you're taking an inside linebacker over the need of wide receiver when there are still plenty of guys on the board.
Because at the time, I think they still had Rashawn. Did they still have Rashawn, Jayon, and David Long?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And in hindsight, Monty Rice could very well be a starter for this team. But also in hindsight, the decision to trade up for Des Fitzpatrick in the fourth round over a guy like Amon-Ra St. Brown was a very, very poor decision because he did almost nothing here. He's now a member of the Steelers practice squad. But in that moment, it was a similar conversation about the Titans waiting too long to take a receiver and then, okay, this better work out. You better really like this guy in Des Fitzpatrick. And then come 2021 season, when Des Fitzpatrick struggles to make the team or get into the active roster, and he finally has to because of injuries, what was it more so about the Titans' decision-making to draft Des Fitzpatrick, or was it more about Des Fitzpatrick in that moment when he runs the wrong route in that Texans game and Ryan Tannehill throws an interception?
It was, well, Des was different, though, and maybe this happens, but Des was different because of how poorly the coaching staff seemed to react to him on the field, in training camp, basically everything leading up to the point where he didn't make the initial roster. He sure as hell didn't make it last year either. And there was already a framework from us in mind that, the coaching staff does not jive with this dude at all. And he does not seem to be able to get over whatever hurdle is preventing him from succeeding here. So when he had to be inserted into that game, the injuries were already to a point where we were saying, okay, they have no choice but to play him. And it wasn't necessarily about Des being a bad player. It was about how dare John Robinson allow the wide receiver room to get to this state behind AJ and Julio, who were unavailable.
Which I think would be pretty similar. If that situation came about again this year, I don't think it would be about Colton Dowell. If he can't progress enough developmentally from being a seventh-round rookie out of UT Martin to a functioning wide receiver as a rookie in 2023, I don't think it would be about Colton Dowell. It would be about the Titans letting the wide receiver room get to this spot, if that is how it played out.
Football Fred says, let the guy get to preseason before creating a narrative of pressure. And I understand why people feel we're creating narratives. But, those can't be helped. We are going to watch things. We are going to see things at practice. We are going to put them in the context of everything that has come before them and everything that is scheduled to come after them, thus creating narratives. If you want me to sit here in silence for 3 hours, I can do that, but there are things in front of me that are tangible that I can talk about, like Colton Dowell, who tripped and fell during the ladder drill on Saturday. He had the head coach bearing over him at that moment, and he was asked about slipping and falling at the press conference afterwards with the media, who were there to ask him questions about his day of work, which is a part of the narrative. And I thought he handled it just fine.
My body was moving faster than my mind. I had a lot of adrenaline going, and I'd be lying if I said that was the first time I've ever done that. And I'm sure it's not going to be the last time. But it's a great thing that I can look at and know that I'm not where I need to be at yet. And just I can keep getting better. Looking at doing things like that, I can just keep getting better. Coach Vrabel, he just kind of looked at me and he just moved on because he knows it happens. I'm a rookie, so it is what it is.
So Vrabel spoke to that himself as well. He was asked the same question that Dowell was about. Yeah, Colton Dowell, ladder drill, tripped and fell, picked himself back up. What'd you think?
In football or going through a drill or a ladder, it's, I think that there's, what our coaches do, and I was explaining that on that drill is, we only have so much time on individual. And so as a coach, you're trying to combine skills, right, in different positions to try to get as much time out of the schedule that I allocate for individual. And that's an example of just combining drills where, they're trying to drop step, catch the ball, drop step, work some foot movement, take on a defender essentially that's maybe working. You want to work a stiff arm, the ball security, from the other side, and then coming off the end of the ladder, and then just being able to burst and make a move. So I think that was a situation where Colton, probably just got caught up, going too fast. And that's the thing I explained to the coaches is when you are combining different, skills or fundamentals, is that you make sure that the player understands that, you're not in a big rush. But we do a lot of that throughout the different, positions.
So that's Mike Vrabel saying, yeah, everybody trips at some point in a football practice.
Yeah, and remember, before he said that, or one of the first things referencing Colton Dowell, Mike Vrabel said, yeah, I'm sure you guys only asked about the one bad moment he had and all the good moments he had today. So tripping and falling on that ladder drill is not the only thing Colton Dowell did.
No, that was a
Saturday.
question about Levis. That was a question about Levis.
Was it?
Yeah, Vrabel. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think it still applies.
Because Mike, what was said to Mike was, Kaharski said to him, he showed personality. You'll hate it. And
talking about Dowell.
I thought it was Levitt, but that would make sense because Colton was the last one to speak with us before Mike.
Yeah, they're talking about Dowell. I was watching it this morning.
Okay.
And then Vrabel said something to the effect of, I'm sure you guys asked him about the only bad moment he had today and not all the good ones.
Which is exactly what happened to that press conference. That is accurate.
Tripping and falling because his adrenaline is running at 100 miles an hour in a ladder drill right at the beginning of practice is not the only thing that Colton Dowell did on Saturday.
Bart Stocker Jr. says Rand will probably get a pass considering this is his first year, but if our wide receivers suck and they don't address it next season, then the blame will shift towards him from John Robinson. So, I don't know why Colton Dowell wouldn't be afforded the same amount of grace as Rand Carthon in that instance, because it is also Colton Dowell's first year. I mean, it's Colton Dowell's first year in the NFL, anything other than attending Titans training camp practices as a kid from Lebanon with his dad.
All right, then let's not do the false narrative thing that people accuse us of, because all we've talked about with Colton Dowell is him tripping and falling in a ladder drill. What did Colton Dowell do on Saturday? What was the complete picture of his rookie minicamp?
Well, I thought that, the things that you're looking for, he's got size. He was, he responded, I thought, to those teachable moments quite well. He was going through it before. So he had the trip on the first one. He went back through it, and Vrabel was on him again because I guess he got ahead of himself again, rather focusing on the ladder at that point rather than the helmet on the stick. They've got the helmet on the stick out there at Titans practice. You've seen Derrick Henry knock the helmet off the stick from time to time. You've seen Mike Vrabel out there working it, like all these different things. So they're doing the helmet on the stick drill with the rookie wide receivers. And so it's a stiff arm drill. Dowell got ahead of himself, focused on the ladder, missed the initial stiff arm, and Mike made him do him again and, was getting on him about paying attention and all these things. And I thought he responded to those moments well. We can't. There are rules on the reporting around it on what they did and did not do. So I'm trying to give as much as I can without giving away the stuff that is embargoed. But on the whole, I thought that everything that I thought about him from a tangible size, weight, speed standpoint, I was like, okay, that guy can find a spot here on the roster in the way that you would think about any other seventh-round pick, right? Within the context of his draft pedigree, sure, that guy can probably be a rosterable wide receiver for special teams or offensive purposes, however he finds his place.
Yeah, it's hard to take more from rookie minicamp than, he looks the part.
Right.
And that's kind of what Colton Dowell falls under.
Sure. 615-737-1045. So we'll talk about that Titans wide receiver room within that context. Having seen some of the undrafted guys, I got an update, by the way. You asked me about Kearis Jackson, or I think Blaine asked me about Kearis Jackson on Friday. So we'll tell you what's going on with the undrafted Georgia rookie wide receiver that they added, as well as taking a look at the larger wide receiver room. I'm Buck Rising. It's 104.5 The Zone. How confident are you in the Titans wide receiver group? That's the question. 615-737-1045. If you want to weigh in. The NFL, shall we call them the NFL Brain Trust? Is that too generous of a term? Mike Clay. Well, I think Mike Clay is really, really good at what he does. So I don't want to discount Mike Clay specifically, but, largely people are having the same opinion as Titans fans of the Titans wide receiver room, which is that they're looking around and being like, really, that's it? Again? So Mike Clay does positional rankings each and every year for ESPN. And not quite a week ago, but a couple of days ago, he put together the wide receiver rankings. Now, do you guys have the list in front of you, the two of you? You do not. Okay. So if I asked you who the number one position group or who the number one wide receiver room, Bert, in the NFL is, according to Mike Clay's rankings, who would you say?
He left the room.
No, he did not.
Yeah,
he was just talking to me.
he popped out to go do something.
I'll bleep you. Who's the number one wide receiver group?
Did he go? I'm going to say either the Bengals or Dolphins.
It's the Bengals number 1, Seahawks 2, Dolphins 3.
Okay.
Where, Lucas, does he have the Tennessee Titans wide receiver group?
This I remember. It was dead last.
That's correct. 32nd. 32 out of 32. Now, he goes who he believes the team's top 5 wide receivers are. So this is not a complete picture of every wide receiver room. For example, the Tennessee Titans wide receiver analysis does not include recently drafted 7th-round pick Colton Dowell. Mike Clay bases his ranking of 32nd off the wide receiver room, including Treylon Burks, NWI, Kyle Phillips, Chris Moore, and Racing McMath. The Atlanta Falcons are the 31st ranked wide receiver room. Drake London, Mac Hollins, Kaderil Hodge, Penny Hart, and Scotty Miller. And then 30th are the Houston Texans. Nico Collins, Robert Woods, John Mechie, Tank Dell, Noah Brown. Are the Texans a better wide receiver core than the Tennessee Titans, when the basic argument for the Titans wide receiver room getting better is they jettisoned Robert Woods, who went to the Texans. They basically swapped Woods and Chris Moore. They took the Texans' most productive receiver last year, and they did give up their most productive wide receiver last year, but productive you use in the context of what that season was.
Relative term.
Not a good year for the Titans wide receivers. So 32nd and below the Houston Texans. The bottom 5, for reference, Packers, Giants, Texans, Falcons, Titans. Is that a fair estimation? So I asked Greg Cosell, speaking of the live show coming up this Saturday, tickets available if you want to see us eat a whole banana, Will Levis style on the stage. We're selling it out. 50 tickets for a sellout and a banana eating situation, or if you just want the best live breakdown of the Tennessee Titans 2023 draft class at a really cool event with a lot of different Titans fans. 1045thezone.com for tickets. The GA tickets are only $25. So I asked Greg this question because we're doing the podcast on the division until we do the live show on the Titans this Saturday. And so Greg gives me this glowing review of what it was that the Texans added to their skill position group on the most recent episode of The Install.
One other point, and again, he missed a year, so we don't know exactly what he'll be, but I think a receiver that is really good for this kind of system is a John Mechie. And I really liked John Mechie when he came out of Alabama. Obviously, he had the illness and he had to sit out a year. So maybe he's an unknown to a certain extent, but to me, he was a really refined, nuanced route runner. He worked the middle of the field exceptionally well. Not all receivers are comfortable doing that. When you hold those linebackers or second-level defenders, it's the middle of the field that is often open. Stroud makes those throws exceptionally well. And believe it or not, another receiver, and I'm very curious to see, number one, if he makes the team, but number two, I loved his tape coming out of college. He was a 6th-round pick for them, Xavier Hutchinson. I really liked his tape a lot. And, again, he's not a burner. Receivers are an odd lot when it comes to the draft, especially this given year in 2023, because there wasn't a Jamar Chase. There wasn't that one guy where everybody said that's the guy. There were a few guys who clearly we knew would be higher round picks, but when you get later in the draft, particularly with guys who are not, 40-time stars, those guys could go anywhere from the 3rd round to the 6th round. That just becomes a matter of how the draft plays out. And I really liked Hutchinson. He's big. He's got kind of a smooth quickness to him. He kind of reminded me stylistically of Keenan Allen. Now, before people say, oh, you're out of your mind, people need to understand that Keenan Allen was not a high draft choice. And Keenan Allen is a certain kind of receiver. He's not a burner either. So I will see how it plays out. The other receiver they drafted, and I don't know how much you know about him. I'm sure you studied up on him a bit, is the kid from Houston, Tank Dell.
I love me some Tank Dell, Greg. He was so much fun at the Senior Bowl and obviously to watch last year at Houston.
Let me tell you something. That kid, I think I've forgotten his first name because everybody calls him Tank.
Right. I can look it up because I've been calling him Tank all draft process.
I know. I've forgotten his first name, but look that up while we're talking. But this kid is explosive. Now, not necessarily vertically explosive. His 40 time wasn't off the charts.
Nathaniel. I don't know how you get Tank from Nathaniel, but Nathaniel Dell.
You couldn't wait.
There you go, Nathaniel Dell. I actually watched him pretty early in the process, and I knew nothing about him. But I got to tell you, this guy he's got sudden explosive movement traits, both as a route runner and run after catch. He's dynamic. He's electric. He's a game-changing playmaker. Now, he's 5'8 3/4, 165. But we know in this league now the way teams move people around. And keep one thing in mind. If they're going to implement a meaningful part of what the 49ers do, what do the 49ers do? I think the highest percentage of any team in the league. They motion receivers, okay? So you put a guy like this in motion, you get him free access off the ball. I mean, this guy he's explosive off the ball. And by the way, he was featured at Houston as the movement motion receiver to do just what I said. So he is used to doing that. And that's the way you maximize what he brings to the table. I thought he was a fascinating prospect. I mean, he's got the kind of juice you don't often see. This kid is really sudden and explosive.
Evan Wright says, hearing double-voiced Buck is too much. Why were you trying to argue with me over a recorded clip? You know how bad radio that was in the middle of really, really good analysis.
I couldn't believe that you forgot Tank Dell's real name.
Why? Because I've been calling him Tank for 6 months.
It's Nathaniel.
I know that. Thank you. You couldn't have waited until we were done. I corrected myself in the clip.
I knew I had heard the clip, so I knew that you correcting yourself was coming, but I wanted to correct you before you corrected yourself. Sounds like Cosell kind of likes the Texans. The Texans.
Greg likes the young Texans wide receiver room, including John Mechie, who, of course, we didn't see. So
he is coming back.
That is correct. So that is why. Now, in the same way that we're giving John Mechie, giving him some kind of weight here that he may not necessarily have earned yet, right? I can't say I haven't seen enough of Treylon Burks, who played in 11 NFL games last year, and then say, well, John Mechie is going to be available to the Texans this year. That automatically makes them better. That's not an assumption that I can make. But I do understand what Greg's saying there. He's not saying that this will be the best wide receiver room in the world. But what he's saying is, based on, I can see what their thought process is. And I agree with the thought process of what they're trying to put around C.J. Stroud. And so from that context, I do think that Greg has articulated the case for why the Texans now have a better wide receiver room than the Titans. When the Titans, I think Titans fans would look at the Texans wide receiver room and be like, really? Those guys? Who? We got their best wide receiver. Who did they get? Which kind of ignores who it is these players are that they've added around the young quarterback in an offensive line that didn't need the kind of work that yours did. 615-737-1045 is the number. Million in Brentwood is up next. What's up?
Yeah, man, I just want to speak on the Tennessee Titans wide receiver scenario. I was not high on Treylon Burks last year coming out of college. I mean, I thought he was more like a like a jump ball, big wide receiver body, can get you can move the sticks type of receiver, but not a burner. I was kind of relying more I was hype on Christian Watson last year coming out of North Dakota State. And this year I kind of thought the Titans should have gone for someone that's a playmaker like Tank Dell or Jordan Addison. So I feel like we really don't have any wide receiver that can just go out there and get it. So
wait, that was just your analysis of Treylon Burks. Didn't you just say that Treylon Burks is a big-bodied, go up and get it, move the chains wide receiver? Was that not just the description you gave me?
No, absolutely. But my thing is that he's not demanding a double team. He's not a wide receiver number one. And barring the injury last year, I just don't know if he's going to have any health restrictions moving on this year. That's pretty much all I'm saying about it. I'm not going to sound biased. I really didn't watch a lot of Arkansas Razorback football throughout his last year in college to really fully evaluate him. But I just feel like for the team that we have, run first, pass second type of offense, we need someone that's going to be able to pretty much stretch it down the field when we do play action pass, because that's what Ryan Tannehill is really known for.
60 seconds on the clock before the Oscar music hits, but I appreciate the call. Thank you very much. Did you understand why I got confused by that statement?
Yeah, I mean,
and then he made it about health, so he kind of moved the sticks on me a little bit.
I think he just laid out the profile of what Burks was coming out, and then just came back around saying he still doesn't think that there is a true wide receiver one in this Titans wide receiver.
Oh, sure, you could have said that a lot. I think, and I'm not telling you how to call into the radio station. I think it's our job to kind of discern your larger point. But if you felt that the Titans don't have a wide receiver one on the roster, it's as easy as that. You have to give me all the things about what you thought Treylon. I was confused.
But I think we've seen enough from Burks to believe he has that sort of upside. I don't know who you can say that about right now in the Texans wide receiver room while we're comparing the two.
Well, if he's citing Tank Dell as having higher upside than Treylon Burks, who's a clear and obvious first-round pick, like a top 20 pick in the NFL.
We've seen Treylon Burks take over a game in the National Football League in prime time.
We've seen it. We've seen him do it. Well, I can't say that we've seen him do it in the pros. We've seen him make big plays in the pros, but then he made a big play against the Eagles and then got immediately concussed.
We've seen him take over a game in the NFL. He took over the Packers game.
I need to go back and look at
his impact on that game. Changed the game for the Titans offense.
And his availability and how the defenses respond to the Titans passing game, which allowed them to do more and also have Treylon Burks on the field. Yes, that is an accurate assessment.
It was as A.J. Brown-esque as he looked at any point was that Packers game. The dagger at the end, the long ball at the end of the game, was it against Jair Alexander? On the deep ball from Ryan Tannehill to just kill the game off.
Yeah.
Right? Just out-muscling the guy that's covering him. So we had that sample size from Burks.
So I will say that I understand people's trepidation about him because I have the same trepidation. I want to see you do it more. And I think that's fair. I want to see you out there more. I'm not mad at you for getting turf toe. I'm not mad at you because you got just kill-shotted in the head in the Eagles game. I'm not upset with Treylon Burks. I'm not down on Treylon Burks because of those instances. But my requirement for me to be able to assess him better is to see more than 11 games and to see more performances that lead me towards, okay, wide receiver one, or at least functioning top option, as opposed to, all right, I've got the one game and a couple of other plays here or there,
When available, he was the Titans' biggest threat in the passing game.
When available, he made a difference for everybody on the field.
Yeah.
Which is the larger point about that availability. His presence out there is not just about his individual skill set as a wide receiver. His presence out there is can you shift the safeties at all? Because he can get behind defensive backs. Can you get just an extra player out of the box so it's 7 in the box instead of 8 and Derek's not running into a brick wall every time? Can you create something underneath because you've moved the secondary backwards because you've got that downfield threat whether he's a burner or not, you know that he is a threat to go up and get it, a la, let's say, Mike Williams with the Chargers, right? Mike Williams isn't a burner, but Mike Williams you can throw downfield to because he's a pterodactyl and go up and get the damn football. His presence does change things, but you just need to see more from him. And that's a fair assessment of where Treylon Burks is at this point.
And while comparing Titans receiver room to the likes of the Texans, how much do tight ends have to come into the equation?
Huge.
They're not in the wide receiver room, but their impact on the passing game, it does feel like you're leaving out the whole story if you just ignore that. And the Texans made a big addition there, too, bringing in Dalton Schultz.
Right, but we're not ranking,
Cowboy.
this is not a ranking of weaponry.
Right.
It's a ranking of the Titans wide receiver room specifically.
But ultimately, what's the wide receiver room there to do, right? It's block.
Speaking of disappointing things, let's talk about Ja Morant next. So we were talking about Titans fans and a general level of disappointment in what their wide receiver room looks like. Well, let me share you what I'm disappointed with here lately. Grizzlies suspended Ja Morant yesterday from all team activities because a video of him in a car with a couple of buddies when it was going around on social media was a friend of his on Instagram Live. For those of you who don't know what Instagram Live is, Instagram, the basically photo album social media app. It has a live function that allows you to broadcast streaming wherever you are and interact with people and, all these different things. You can even join other people's live streams if you're friends with them on Instagram, which is something that you see from time to time. What are you giggling about?
Instagram, which is on the internet. You can use it to look up things, connect people.
Or do you understand the average age of the FM radio audience? Do you?
Yeah, but I feel like you got to find some middle ground of not just doing the social media thing on the radio all the time and also not just mansplaining what Instagram is to the radio audience.
You guys pick one. Do you want me to do a completely, do you want me to just alienate the FM audience?
Do it in the middle. You don't just constantly be talking about what's happening on Twitter and Instagram because you're right. The entire audience is not on Twitter and Instagram, but also don't revert all the way back to explaining what Instagram
okay, go ahead and
is.
Explain Instagram Live to a 65-year-old. Go ahead.
It lets other people see pictures.
You practice way too much ageism on this show.
I said
a
photo album social media app. Is that not exactly what you just said?
Yeah, but
now, you say social media app. If you could flesh that out a little bit and explain what that is.
Yeah, I don't understand what you mean by I know media, but I don't know the social media.
Is that the newspaper?
I can get on the internet from my phone now.
Every time I talk into a microphone and I know it's going into FM radio, I just picture Charlie and Franklin. That's who I imagine is listening to us at 11:48 in the morning.
Charlie and Franklin's actually live on Instagram right now talking about how
he's got all the likes and hearts.
Yeah, you don't have to explain what Instagram is, buddy. It's okay.
Okay, well, if you don't understand social media apps, Bert, I know what you do understand. Shadows.
Follow me on Instagram.
At Robbie_Walsh for the things he doesn't post on Instagram. Okay. Hey, I'm old. Can I smack your IP from here? I don't even know what that means. Says somebody in the YouTube chat.
That's what I'm saying, man.
I'm scared.
Most people are smarter than we are.
Well, sure. I'm not saying that, but it's not a level of intelligence. Some people just might not be on Instagram. All right, we've spent too much time on this. Bleep you both. Ja Morant is on Instagram Live, and he's waving a gun around the car. Okay? Now, they suspend him indefinitely. It's the offseason, and it's 2 months after they suspended him the first time over a similar incident. Now, the differences here are, in the first incident, Ja Morant is in a club. He's in a public place with a gun on social media, waving it around and singing the lyrics of whatever was playing in the club. In this video, Ja Morant is sitting, it looks like in the passenger seat of I don't know what seat he's sitting in. So
it was the front passenger seat.
Okay, I wasn't sure but it wasn't because the guy who's live streaming is he's on his phone, which makes me think that Ja was there. So let's not get bogged down in passenger seat or driver. He's waving around the gun, okay? And it's for a brief moment. In fact, they're showing it on SportsCenter right now in the studio. They're showing the still because it's just a very, very brief moment where you see Ja holding the gun.
Bert says you can also see him holding the steering wheel.
So he's driving.
Yeah. The steering wheel is in front of him.
Okay, so Ja's driving.
Oh, so the camera is being filmed like reverse.
Correct.
Yeah.
And a camera is what we use to take pictures and stream live with
The phones these days have cameras. You wouldn't believe it. The craziest thing.
I'm not even mad at you. That was funny. I'm pissed, though. I want to love Ja Morant, man. And he appears to be, let me say this, all right? Because I don't think that Ja Morant is an idiot. But he is displaying the behavior of an idiot.
I have a solution for Ja. And he doesn't have to go to counseling again.
Stop singing with a gun in your hand? Like that seems to be a common theme. Like I don't know what
my solution. Is just stop waving a gun around every time a camera's put in your face. It feels like a very easy thing to stop doing.
Well, that's the thing. Like his buddy is trying to protect him. Because you see how quickly the camera is ripped away from Ja. That's why you barely see the gun itself in the video. That's why you have to stop the video to see him holding the gun.
Yes.
Because his buddy immediately pulls the camera into his shoulder and is like holding the camera to his shirt for a minute while he's telling probably Ja, hey, idiot, put away the gun.
Yes. Like, this isn't like a thing where you have to go to rehab, right? And it's drugs, alcohol, and it's months of recovery, and it becomes a medical thing. Like, no, if I was Ja Morant, I would simply stop waving a gun around every time somebody puts me on their Instagram.
Trippin' Titans on YouTube says, why is displaying a gun an issue? We do that all the time around here. Here's the thing, okay? It's got nothing to do with the gun. Well, it's got something to do with the gun.
At least something.
But the gun is not the important thing here. Are you playing them?
I didn't mean to play music on my phone.
What are you doing?
Give it here. Give me your phone. You can have it at the end of the day.
Honestly, we should start doing that unless we're going to end up pepper sprayed like that teacher in Antioch. You see that video?
Bert has my phone.
Oh, please stop. Don't say that.
You haven't seen that?
No.
No.
For asking for a kid's phone?
A high school girl got her phone confiscated. I don't know the high school in Antioch, but it was an Antioch high school. I saw it on Tennessee Holler. She got her phone confiscated. The teacher takes the phone out in the hallway. The student follows the teacher and then pepper sprays him and tries to take the phone back. It's a whole thing.
50 tickets. Buck will get pepper spray for the install.
Now that I would see.
I've been tasered before. It was a long time ago. I was in college.
People in the chat are saying, he's in the driveway. They're not driving.
It doesn't matter. It's about the judgment.
Not the point.
Like, honestly, I think it's even lamer. If you're all just sitting in the car, listening to music, and you're like, waving guns around, like, are we 4 years old? Are we playing cops and robbers?
That's what I'm saying. Like, he's not, I don't believe him to be an idiot. I believe him to be behaving like an idiot. That's the important clarification here. The gun is not the problematic thing in this specific instance. The problematic thing in this specific instance is he was displaying the behavior of an idiot 2 months ago by waving around a gun in a club on his own social media. Then 2 months later, after going on this whole apology tour, after doing a sit-down interview with Jalen Rose, after getting bounced by the washed-ass Lakers out of the playoffs in a disappointing season because your teammate can't keep his mouth shut, after all these things, Ja Morant is driving around Memphis with his boys on IG Live, and as soon as the camera is pointed at Ja, what's he doing?
Yeah,
waving around a gun.
Alan Brown's also taking offense to this in the YouTube chat. What's the difference between a 16-year-old holding a hunting rifle on YouTube? Well, one, it's in the name, a hunting rifle. It has a purpose, right? You use that to hunt, whatever you're hunting. What is a pistol for? Anybody?
Not hunting.
It's not for hunting. It's for protecting yourself.
But again, the gun is not the thing here.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with
people are
legal,
trying
illegal.
to people are trying to drag us into a gun argument.
Yeah, let's not do that.
Those people who are trying to make that about this are either not paying attention to the details or mouth breathers who want to fight about it anyway. I'm not having that fight. I'm saying that the lack of judgment by Ja Morant in that moment to just have the gun every time a camera is pointed at him is some of the dumbest bleep I've ever seen in my life, even though I want to love this person. I do love this person. I think he's the future face of the NBA. If he can just get his bleep together. That's the whole thing. If you're trying to make it a Second Amendment thing, bleep off. It's not about that.
It's nothing to do with legal, illegal. Even if, it's just understand what the reaction's going to be and understand how easy it is for you to avoid that. It's just dumb.
I think Kwame Brown summed this whole thing up. He was like, he's listening to NBA young boy, but he is NBA dumb boy.
Kwame Brown also had like a really, really like problematic Instagram live rant. I feel like a couple of years ago that was funny. I feel like it was during COVID. Either way, John in Murfreesboro's next. Hey, John.
What's up, Buck? All right, so first off, my mom's 70 and understands Instagram better than I, as a 35-year-old, do.
That's fine.
But the whole thing with Ja, like, here's what kills me about this. And I'm from Memphis, and I know what the perception of the city of Memphis is of people who don't live in the city. And Ja's living it, all right? Ja's giving every bit of that credence. If there's one person that Ja needs to spend some time around, it's not his buddies. It's Penny Hardaway. Because that's what happened to Penny. Penny got shot in the foot his sophomore year of college and couldn't play. And that's when he decided he had to turn his life around and stop hanging around certain people so that he could make it to the NBA and take care of things. He needs to spend time with Penny and learn what it means to be a pro. Now, the other side of that is Ja's trying to be Memphis. He's trying to be what he thinks is Memphis. And here's the thing. Ja's not from that. He's not about that. But there's somebody out there that's willing to oblige him, and he needs to be careful.
Thanks for the call, John. Buckethead just texted me and said the fact that I'm having to explain the difference between the situation with Ja and what people are trying to make it about with Ja, it says everything that it needs to about our discourse as a society in 2023. And I'd say he's right. 615-737-1045 is the number if you want to join. We'll also talk about Will Levis, his comfort level at Titans rookie minicamp. Got some observations to share, and you'll hear from the quarterback coming up next.
It is 12:03. Good morning, or good afternoon, I should say, from the Superbook.com Sports Desk. I'm Lucas Panzica. Titans rookies took the field on Saturday for rookie minicamp at Ascension St. Thomas Sports Park. They met with the media following practice, and quarterback Will Levis discussed just how much of the pro-style offense he ran at Kentucky has carried over to the NFL.
A good amount. I mean, it's there's some you can fall into the traps of this is what we called this at Kentucky, so that's what I want to call it in my mind. You know, you got to erase that. You got to erase everything in the past, and you got to put it in the language of how we call it. So I mean, that's been the biggest thing for me.
More NFL news as former Falcons and Colts quarterback Matt Ryan announced he will become an analyst at CBS this season. Ryan made it clear this does not mean that he is retiring from football. Matt Ryan still a free agent. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once in your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Four five The Zone. We're happy to have you. What'd you just do?
I didn't do anything.
Why could I not hear myself, and then I could hear myself?
Why does it have to be something I did wrong? Could it not be something you did wrong?
No, because like we've covered, I don't have any of the buttons in here.
That's not true. You turn your own mic on. How do I know you didn't hit the button?
I turned the mic on because the little red light came on. We start the third hour strong.
Don't believe you. There's no evidence. You also were not on camera at that point.
Whose fault is that?
Who's to say?
No, there's one of you. It's honestly unfair to Lucas because I can only make eye contact with Lucas, so Lucas is the only person who has to get the withering glares that I send in that direction at any given point. Bert's physically out of my sight line, so he gets away with a lot more.
Yeah, but your glares don't make it through the glass. They just repel off the glass before they get in here.
Just bouncing around in here.
Yeah, they're just bouncing around in your own little room. We are unfazed.
You're immune. I don't know. Bert, like not calling me to help him set up his above ground pool that was dumped in his front yard this weekend.
Ooh, I hope that's done by now.
I feel like Bert and I have a telecommunication situation where we can communicate purely through glares.
This stranger has probably ransacked Bert's house by now.
Okay, I feel like we do have a telekinesis kind of thing. Like, Buck, what do you think I'm thinking right now?
I bet that you're thinking about how soon you can take your pants off.
Get out of my head!
Yeah. That or a macaroni sandwich. Not a pimento cheese sandwich, but macaroni and cheese placed between two slices of bread.
There were no plates.
Yeah, the bread is the plate.
There were no plates.
I think you're thinking about how you hope when you get home your furniture will still be there, and that guy that you're paying $40 to put together your above-ground pool does not come and take it.
The only thing I'm really hoping is if he does ransack my house, that he remembers to close the door so the cats don't get out. That's the main thing I'm worried about.
Oh, I have a story about that at 12:45. I went full nuclear mode this weekend because I thought I lost one of the cats.
You really got to get a tag on one of the people that lose their phone or wallets all the time, they put those tags in them.
Who, me?
So they can... I'm
the person who never has his wallet ever and has to call you two on a regular basis to let him in because I don't have my wallet, which has my key card to this building.
You should really get a tracker on those cats because this has happened to you more than once where you feel like the cats are gone.
By the way,
you even put a video up this weekend.
Yeah, but I was teasing.
If you think they're gone, they're not actually gone. They're probably in the neighbor's yard.
No, I know, but there's like this. We'll get to the trauma later. All right, we'll get to that at 12:45.
It is a terrible feeling.
It is not. Well, I will say that Ja Morant gave me a terrible feeling this weekend. I'm very disappointed. Like I feel like somebody's parents. Like I came in here disappointed because he's my favorite player in the NBA. Full stop. Like I'm appreciative of LeBron. I think that Joel Embiid is a lot of fun, even though choked in Game 7 yesterday. Good God. I think that Jimmy Butler, balling out, doing things that few other players in NBA basketball history have done when nobody expected the Miami Heat to do anything. And then Blair, have you heard the song Strokin' by Clarence Carter? Have you heard this song?
The only stroking I know is because we're stroking.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm talking about. Like, we can't play it because it's, probably not FCC safe. But Jimmy Butler balling out and then people walking into the Miami Heat locker room afterward to Jimmy just singing along to Strokin' after he's been balling on people. I love that. But Ja Morant is my favorite. And so with this suspension situation, it's really, really brought things down around a very promising young star in the NBA. And I feel like a lot of people feel that way, especially in a place like this in Nashville, where Nashville don't want to give the Grizzlies the time of day. Memphis doesn't care about the Preds or the Titans. And East Tennessee is a country unto itself, basically.
Hey, Buck.
What?
Talk about Will Levis.
Dylan in the borough wants to talk about Ja Morant.
Damn it.
Am I on?
Yes.
Yeah, what I want to call and ask is I need to be Ja Morant's security guard. Why doesn't he just hire security guards that carry whatever guns he wants them to carry around? I mean, he's a millionaire. But my application in, I'm about 6'7", 3 bills, so give Ja a call if he needs a security guard. I'm out.
Thank you, Dylan.
Well, he's not carrying the gun for protection, Dylan. He's carrying it for Instagram.
I mean, does it not kind of feel that way?
That's exactly how it feels. Yes.
I hate that. I have some of these tendencies too. You guys accuse me of doing things on social media just for the sake of doing things for social media, and you're right. And there's a degree of that, I think in society anyway, where it's literally called doing things for the gram. But I would love if Ja's doing things for the gram did not involve a pistol. I just don't get it. I don't understand. All right, now I'll talk about Will Levis. Will Levis and the stigma around him coming in here to the Tennessee Titans, he has been villainized by a contingent of this fan base in ways that I felt were unfair. And all I saw from him on Saturday was a player who was in complete control, in command, took some risks, and had them pay off in a couple of different instances, working with his teammates in team drills in the Titans practice facility. But I saw somebody who was at ease. And in those moments, I thought about all the reporting about Will Levis leading into the draft process. Can anybody in the class tell me what the stigmatization of Will Levis through the draft process was?
Off-putting in interviews.
Doesn't peel his bananas.
There is that. But there was Lucas, you've had Chad Forbes on Blaine and Mickey before, right? NFL Draft Bites is the Twitter account. Anyway, Chad Forbes is somebody who was reporting some of these things around Will Levis during the draft process. The tweet literally says, it's from March 29th, Will Levis is bombing interviews. Quote, arrogance, entitlement, plus just bizarre. 24 years old should be far ahead of guys. These are quotes. 24 years old should be far ahead of guys that graduated from high school in the pandemic 25 months ago, Stroud Richardson. Why didn't he beat out Sean Clifford? Levis could go day 2. Now, Levis did go day 2. And we don't know if that's because his interviews were off-putting in the way that it was reported, or if that's just BS because draft lies are prevalent. But what I saw from Will Levis, somebody who I have heard is robotic in moments in terms of his preparation, his approach, and his work ethic, which is not a bad thing if you're an NFL quarterback. What I saw from him was somebody who was almost at complete ease in the setting that he was placed in. And I asked him about that on Saturday after we talked to him, or when we got to talk to him after day 2 of rookie minicamp.
Fun. First time, playing ball in a long time. It's the game we all love. So the opportunity to come out here and just play and learn, it's just been a lot of fun. And getting to know the guys, getting to know the coaches, getting to know the offense. A lot of work to do, but got a lot of good work in the last few days.
Is that ultimately the part of this that's most comfortable, just getting back into the routine of going through the process of getting ready for another football season?
I think we all thrive on routines and stuff, and I mean, obviously in the offseason we have a routine, but when you're in the building all day long in a camp environment like this, I feel like you got to just be that much more locked in. You got to be that much more in tune with everything that's going on. And I think because of that, we're all able to learn so much in such a short amount of time. And I'm just so proud of all the guys, all the new guys in here who've handled it and have just gone out there and done their best and executed at a high level.
So that was Will Levis on Saturday after practice. There were 3 days of rookie minicamp. Media was allowed at 1. And so him operating in the offense, he was asked about, is there anything different that they're working on you with mechanically? And he said, well, we're not really doing mechanical stuff right now. They're just trying to teach us plays, asking us to get on the field together and trying to work some of these things out, doing some individual work, obviously, and doing their footwork drills and all these different things that they'll be asked to do every day before they practice. But like right now, it's just about, all right, how quickly can you pick up what we're putting down and how quickly can that translate to what we're doing on the field? Because the vets are about to be here and they're going to be ready to go. Now, you're going to hear from Mike Vrabel on Will Levis in just a second because we're going to talk about how well he fits in with this offense. You'll hear from Mike Vrabel. You'll also hear from Levis and his former offensive coordinator at Kentucky, Liam Cohen, who joined Titans Radio on the night that Will Levis was drafted. We'll get to all of that stuff and your phone calls coming up next. Welcome back to the show. So how does Will Levis fit in with this newish looking Titans offense? Now, I can't tell you specifically how it is that the Titans offense look new, even though there's a new coordinator out on the field. Those will be discussions we have in greater depth once we get to training camp. But I can tell you that Will Levis was confident, comfortable, and in control of what he was being asked to do. Now, on the first snap of the team drills, he did have a botched exchange, and the ball ended up on the ground. Mike Vrabel talked about it in his press conference afterwards. He said, you know, you have to take my word for it, even though you guys weren't in there on Friday. We didn't put a ball on the ground like we did today. And once we got past that initial one, the operation was largely clean. So the question then becomes, all right, well, just how much of that transitive property that we've all spent so much time talking about with Will Levis and other quarterbacks who run pro-style systems in college, how tangible is that? How real is it? And so we asked Will Levis about the carryover from Kentucky and how it helps him within this Titan system, and this is what he had to say on Saturday.
A good amount. I mean, it's there's some you can fall into the traps of this is what we called this at Kentucky, so that's what I want to call it in my mind. You know, you got to erase that. You got to erase everything in the past, and you got to put it in the language of how we call it. So I mean, that's been the biggest thing for me. You know, some of the formations, like they might call it one thing, and I might think of it as one thing, and I gotta be like, no, it's not that. It's not what it was. This is what it is. So just keeping to work on that, keep pounding everything, and just keep mastering the offense.
So it basically just learning different terminology. Now, there's obviously certain things and cadences and all these different kinds of operational stuff that Will Levis is going to have to get nailed down and perfect, or try to over a period of time. But in principle, Will Levis looks comfortable out there because Will Levis knows what he's doing already. That's the whole thing about people who are saying, well, the Titans gave up too quickly on Malik Willis. And that may well be so. But what they needed last year, unfortunately for them, is a player who could operate in their system should something happen to Ryan Tannehill. Malik Willis quickly showed that he was not capable of that, given a handful of opportunities to do so. 3 starts in his rookie year. Hell, it took Josh Dobbs 6 years in the NFL to earn his first NFL start. So when they, essentially declared themselves okay with moving on from Malik Willis when they drafted Will Levis, the big takeaway that you had is, okay, can he at least be better than Malik is as a backup option behind Tannehill? And that was something that you could immediately tell was going to be possible based on the sample size that we got this weekend. Now, this was something that Liam Cohen, the former Kentucky coordinator, now back at Kentucky after a year with the Rams, and has had several stints in the NFL, this is somebody who coached Will Levis at his height in 2021 before Liam Cohen left Kentucky as the OC to go on and take a position with the Rams. Liam Cohen joined the Titans radio draft night broadcast on that Friday night right after Will Levis was drafted to give Mike Keith and the crew some more information about how well Levis will fit in the Titans system.
Couldn't be happier. This has been the ideal landing spot the entire time. I mean, if you talk to Will, you talk to his agents, if you were to talk to me, and we were all in alignment that, yes, would have loved to go in the first round. We would have loved to go top early like that. But this was the place. This was the place he felt the most comfortable. This was the place he felt the most believed in. And we all felt was the best fit for Will to have the most successful career moving forward.
I mean, that's a pretty... Now, you can say that because you're hyped for your guy on draft night, and it'd be a bit hyperbolic, but that's about as big an endorsement as you could give a situation, right? This was the fit all along. This is the place that he was most comfortable with, and on Liam Cohen went. That, I think, is the thing that we saw translating before our very eyes on Saturday. Now, he'll have plenty more opportunities to make mistakes. In fact, the play that ended practice, we talked about it earlier in the first hour with Jimmy Wyatt, he ripped a completion in team drills to Josh Wiley, the 6'6" tight end. Now, Wiley went up and got it. Came into the sky with incredible force over these tiny little defensive backs. Went up and got the ball in the place that only he could get it because Will Levis had great placement on that ball. And Mike Vrabel was asked about that completion because that completion ended practice 10 minutes earlier. They felt good about where they were. They felt good about the rhythm and the practice tempo that they had. So they made the completion. They ended practice on a high note. And Mike Vrabel was asked about it after the fact.
Probably, again, the result was good. And there was a lot of great decisions, which we ask our quarterback to be able to do. But, that may not end as well with some other players when the veterans come in at OTA. So, again, it was great by Josh to be able to go. I think we'll just tell Will that, we got to be careful when we throw it into a team meeting. But it was a great job by Josh being able to track it and, ultimately end up with the catch.
So vets come into the building today, and it's going to be a higher level of competition that Will Levis is going to be asked to throw against than some of the undrafted and tryout players that were out there. He was, again, confident and comfortable in the work that we saw him get. But Mike Vrabel's basically words of caution were, well, okay, you made the completion, and it was a nice pass and it was a nice catch. But there was a lot of bodies around Josh Wiley at that point, and had it been Kevin Byard or Amani Hooker or Roger McCreary or Christian Fulton, the result of that might not work as well. Now, Mike Vrabel also spoke to the fit of Will Levis within this Titans offense. Now, Lucas, was this from Saturday? I don't remember specifically this clip, but I'm sure he was asked questions about that.
Yeah, it was from Saturday, similar to the question that Levis fielded about just how much carryover there is.
Well, let's hear from Mike.
A lot of the plays, when you look throughout the league, you look in college, the plays are similar. There's going to be some teams, every team is going to have some things that are a little different, and there may be some scheme plays or personnels that are different. But there's a lot of carryover from offenses and defenses. But for a quarterback, a young quarterback, it's going to be the defensive looks. It's going to be the disguises. It's going to be the different rolled coverages, some of the different fronts that you're going to have to handle. So he may have somewhat of a working knowledge of the concept of the play. Pretty sure it's going to be called something different here. But then the defenses that he'll be going against will be much different than some of the looks that he got in college.
And that's basically what it's been the whole time. There's a couple of different things that I think speak to. Did you guys read the Joe Rexrode piece on Levis?
Yes.
By the way, his
backstory. Very good.
It was very well done by Joe, and I don't like to say nice things about Joe very often because, insults, it feels like, are the way that guys communicate with each other more often than not. And to say too many nice things about Joe would get away from that. So we don't want to do that. But it was a very, very thorough and well-reported piece on everything around Will Levis' background, his personality, the family connection and history that they have with Peter Skoronski and his family, and on it went. And it gave you a much better picture than I think we've had articulated on Will Levis and who he is. Because when he got to the podium, winning the press conferences don't matter, right? How much you impress the media by the way that, and, speaking as media, the way that you impress media with the way that you're able to answer or handle their questions, it doesn't matter, right? Ultimately, it doesn't matter if you can't play.
I think Malik did that. I think Malik's been fine every time he stepped up to the podium.
Correct.
He's been calm, cool, collected.
He cracks jokes. He's very at ease. Now, he's a little more soft-spoken, but Malik Willis interviews fine. We've had him on the show. I thought he did very well. Winning a press conference doesn't make you a good football player. But I think that when Levis got up at the podium, and, we probably spent about 15 minutes with him in total, there was about 5 to 8 minutes in where I was just looking around at Wyatt, Jimmy Wyatt, sitting next to me. I'm like, he sounds just like Dan Tannehill. Like almost carbon copy. He is comfortable. He is articulating exactly what it is that we're asking him questions about in a way that's easy to understand. He is carrying himself with this presence that, yeah, quarterbacks have because they're confident and they believe in themselves and all these different things. But he's up there, and it's a carbon copy of Ryan Tannehill. And you know who loves Ryan Tannehill? Mike Vrabel. Like it's a small sample size, but the whole narrative around how well they clicked and why it is that Mike Vrabel jived so well with Will Levis during their 30 visits and all these other things, like you could tell right away, and also hearing about his work ethic and speaking to Colton Dowell, the 7th-round wide receiver, who is his roommate. They're staying in a team hotel right now for rookie camp. And Dowell said, we don't have the clip, but Dowell said that he's been scared to touch the remote. Did you guys hear this? Been scared to touch the remote in their hotel room because Levis hasn't picked it up once to turn on the TV. He's just been in his iPad studying film. So, like, Dowell doesn't want to be the first person to pick, throw on MTV's The Challenge. Is that even still a thing right now? Like, MTV's The Challenge?
Is MTV even still a thing?
MTV News just went down, like 35 years. It was kind of, I couldn't tell you last time I watched MTV News, but I know that just happened. MTV's still out here doing it. But, Colton Dowell's he doesn't want to pick up the remote and put on some trash TV because Will Levis has got his nose buried in his iPad and he don't want to be the first one to do it. And you hear stuff about that. And you hear, degrees of whether it's awkwardness or a little bit robotic, whatever. He's a football player that has high-level potential, and he works really damn hard. That's typically a good formula for success, especially given the high-level athletic traits that we have seen him display on his film. Ice Cold Trey on Twitch says the challenge is still a thing, LOL. Tyler Dial says he thinks MTV just plays ridiculousness 24/7. I can't confirm. I used to live with a person who would just fall asleep on the couch with ridiculousness blaring in the background, and it was my worst nightmare.
Which is really just like the new version of America's Funniest Home Videos.
Yeah.
Like it's just I don't know. I never got the appeal with that.
Yeah, I never liked ridiculousness.
Which is crazy because I loved America's Home Videos,
Yeah.
and they're basically the same thing.
Give me a VHS of Bob Saget on America's Funniest Home Videos.
Is it just
every
Rob
time.
Dyrdek? Because I don't like. He's not like a bad guy or anything like that. It's just like I can't. Is it Coco Chanel, the girl that sits on the set with him?
Her name is Chanel West Coast. Coco Chanel is who is married to Ice-T, I believe.
Okay, thank you.
Ice-T and Coco.
Chanel West Coast. Her laugh. I
It's
can't.
so bad.
I can't.
Man. So rough.
I just can't.
And I like Rob Dyrdek. Like when he had Fantasy Factory, that was a great show.
What was the security guard's name? I can't remember. Either way.
I think it was Big Black, right?
That sounds
Rob
right.
Black. His last name was.
I think so. Either way.
I love the episode where they hit Chanel in the face with the dodgeball, though. Do you remember that?
Thank you for clarifying with the dodgeball. Why did you pause so dramatically when you said? God, Bert.
What? I don't even know what I'm doing half the time. That upsets you so greatly.
It's not. It's just. It was the pause.
I love the episode where they hit her in the face.
Yeah, that's literally where you
With the
stopped.
dodgeball. The dodgeball.
And
with
then
the
you
dodgeball.
said with the dodgeball.
There's not another episode where she's stricken. I don't think so.
Thank you for clarifying
Struck.
for the audience.
So how much does the vibe change when it's rookie minicamp? Bunch of guys that are just thrilled to be there, right? Everybody that is there is in the exact same boat almost. Trying to make a good first impression, spending every waking moment on your iPad looking at film.
They're happy. They haven't been yelled at by the coaches too much. Like, vibes are high. They're immaculate. Everybody's feeling good. I'm an NFL football player, baby. Let's ride.
Then the veterans come in.
And they're pissed off and they're miserable because this is May. They don't want to be doing all these
Right.
things.
They've been through this.
They don't want to work with rookies who are slow to the plays that they know by heart.
They don't want these chippy, happy to be here rookies, ruining their vibe. They want to go home to their families.
They want nothing. These are grown-ass men who are not here for your playground experience that you're getting to have because it's your first time in an NFL bubble.
Speaking of, a select few veteran players, probably said that wrong grammatically, will be at the podium tomorrow at noon. So we will carry that.
We will carry those press conferences live because, of course, Titans veterans report today. So the difference is, he's probably going to throw interceptions. Will Levis, in the portion that we saw of the 3 days of work, Will Levis was very clean. Like, there were not interceptable passes thrown. There were some questionable, like Mike Vrabel talked about throwing into team meetings, so there were bodies. But Will Levis was not really, he didn't look like he was in jeopardy of turning the ball over or making costly mistakes that in a real live NFL game, in the example that we just brought up, Kevin Byard can make a play on that ball. or Amani Hooker can make a play on that ball. And now that's who he's going to be going up against. And they're totally ready to make a rookie quarterback's life a living hell. So I don't want to say that the morale changes when the veterans get here, but you got to think about it this way. If you've been doing your job for a period of 8 to 10 years, you probably do not come to work in the 10th year with the same level of enthusiasm that you did on your first day. That is kind of the atmosphere that changes. It becomes much more work-like rather than, oh, this is great. We haven't been on these guys haven't been on a football field like this other than, they'll meet up sometimes or they'll go out with their former college quarterback, catch some passes. If you're a receiver, a tight end, something like this. These guys haven't been in this environment in a while. It's fun for them right now.
Are you talking about the rookies?
I'm talking about the rookies.
Right, because they're all looking around like they're in the same boat. Like, how cool is this? Like, we're here.
We're doing
we
it
are.
together, guys. We're living the dream.
We're in the NFL, man.
And
this is awesome.
And then Jeff Simmons is going to come in there and make Peter Skoronski's life a living hell because, oh, my God, you're a lot more forceful than Jalen Duncan was with that pad.
Spit right in his face. Welcome to the NFL.
Well, Jeff does have that.
Yeah, I can't tell if that was a reference to some accusations against Jeff in the past or if that's just Bert being Bert.
Well, no, that was just him spitting in the face of Ravens legend Marshall Yanda.
That's why Bert is bringing that up because famously Jeff Simmons
allegedly
spit on not just Marshall Yanda, but apparently on that tackle that was here for a hot second.
Bobby Hart?
Bobby Hart.
Yeah, there's no proof of that, though.
Yeah, we don't.
Only everybody who was in the one tunnel that both teams have to walk onto the field and off the field.
Until I see saliva in a vial, there is no proof.
I'm getting a swab real quick, Bobby. Hold still. Let me put this in a vial for.
No, you're not swabbing Bobby. You're swabbing Jeff.
Well,
Bobby
Jeff didn't. What am I swabbing him for? He didn't spit on himself. Spit on Bobby.
Allegedly.
We're going to tell you about the trauma that I experienced over the weekend and update the polls next. All right, let's put a bow on this thing for the day, shall we? At least for us, don't forget Blaine and Mickey, 3HL after that. Going to keep you entertained through the rest of your Monday. Last call for phone calls. If you got them, 615-737-1045. You can jump in this final segment for us. Greg Burton on the Zone TV chat on Facebook writes, okay, we get it, Buck. You were in love with Levis. The rest of us want to see a few more practices before we decide he is the next Brady. Have I exclaimed anything that would indicate any great love for Will Levis other than I saw him, perform well one day at practice?
I would say it's cautious optimism from you because as the Titans fan you're scared to go all in quite yet.
Yes. True.
But you've seen enough to where you're laying in your bed, your head's on your pillow, your eyes closed, you're just thinking about, but what if? Just what if he throws for 4,000 yards in 2024?
Honestly, I think you upset more people by trying to convince them that I'm a Titans fan and then me ripping them afterwards than you do, being honest about it. I feel like you bother more people that way, which might be your goal. I'm never sure. Now, Bert called me yesterday because he was concerned. Speaking of, chemical imbalances and trauma and being upset. Bert, you called me yesterday and you were worried about how my weekend went because I had been behaving maybe a little sharply on Twitter.
You had been throwing some shots on Twitter. I hadn't heard from you. I knew you had steeplechase. I was like, oh, man.
You didn't check in.
You didn't. I was assuming that you would ask me how my weekend was, like maybe Friday, Saturday.
I did not.
Wanted to hang out. Buck did not message me.
You go 48 hours without hearing from you. How do I know you're not in a ditch?
So seriously, last time I hung out with the dude, he Irish goodbye to us and walked all the way home. He couldn't even rent a scooter. So when the guy doesn't call me back,
he Irish goodbye to the Irish goodbyer.
That's me, man.
No, you are not in the same class of Irish goodbye as I am.
I'm not as good at it because I like to say goodbye, but I also hate that moment when everybody's like, "Oh, don't leave, stay." I'm like, "No, I'm going home. I'm leaving."
Yeah, but your Irish goodbyes have gotten sloppy lately. I've caught you a couple of times.
You're attached to the hip to me, man. You got to let me breathe. I'm a peacock. You got to let me fly.
It's not being attached to the hip. I just out of the corner of my eye, someone's like, "Hey, where's Bert?" And then I look out the window and I see you scurrying out onto the street. I'm like, there he is. There he is.
Leaving when all of the bar's silverware.
Yeah, it's falling out of his pockets.
Hey, what's that noise? Like clang, 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 clang. Forks in the road.
So you were concerned about my Twitter behavior because I had taken some shots at specifically PK.
On Twitter and in real life, you had taken shots.
Well, not yet. I was being accused. So not that anybody cares about this portion of it.
I care.
But Saturday was a bit of a cluster, okay? Because I love doing the steeplechase thing. The station puts on a great event at Champions Corner, and steeplechase is an awesome event. And the weather really held up pretty nicely. But it's always disorganized. Like, it's chaos when you get out there. It's like any football tailgate that you do, and you've got a plan to meet some friends that are in town or something like that, and you don't have any phone cell service, and everybody's drunk and in the mud and all these different things, right? Like, it's just one of these cluster bleeps. And so I've got this scheduled thing on the Jumbotron at 10:45 in the morning with News Channel 5 because that's who's hosting the event. Okay, great. So I'm in my email and I'm saying, all right, I'm going to be at the same place as last year, right? Right by all the trophies, right by the tower where they announced the races. And the person who I was communicating with said, yes, right by the TV truck. That's the same place that you were last year. So I show up at the place that I'm ready, the place that I was supposed to be at. I'm ready to go. There's nobody anywhere with any kind of News Channel 5 stuff anywhere. And this woman who is scheduling all of these things isn't picking up her phone. So finally we determine, Rich Ferris and myself, promotions director extraordinaire, Rich is trying desperately to get a hold of this woman while I'm standing in the rain bitching because I don't have my situation figured out yet, even as I've made sure to confirm that I was in the right spot.
God bless Rich for dealing with you.
Yeah, it's not a pleasant experience. So we then have to walk through the infield to get to this spot only to be told that I've missed my window, and the woman just tells me, oh, well, don't worry about it. You don't have to do this. And I'm like, okay, but I've just driven out here an hour and a half of my day before I'm supposed to be at Titans practice at 12:20 to do this, and then I'm going to come back to Steeplechase because I'm happy to. It's a great event. I'm excited to be there. So I'm driving to Titans practice, at like noon, and I'm ripping my way across town from Bellevue to Metro Center. And I got a tweet from PK, something about, I said that I was going to be at practice in my steeplechase outfit, and I was in a hot pink blazer. And I get a tweet from PK, something to the effect of, "Oh, great, the guy that doesn't show up for every other day is going to show up drunk to practice today." So I really went too hard at him on Twitter because I was in a bit of a mood, and I made fun of his height, and I made fun of his employment situation, and that was not very kind of me. And because he is my friend.
Matthew on YouTube asks, what is an Irish goodbye? Bert, would you like to explain?
It's just where you just leave without saying goodbye. Everyone, maybe something happens at the party where, like, some calamity happens where it's like, "Oh, everyone to the backyard. We're going to play pin the tail on the donkey," or something like that. And then while everyone is moving to the backyard, you just leave.
Slink out.
You just don't say anything to anyone. You just get in your car, you get in your Uber, and you leave. And then they'll eventually text you probably in like 45 minutes saying,
"Where'd you go?
Did you go home?" Yeah. Yeah, I did.
That's an Irish goodbye.
By the way, we have a couple preseason dates locked in for the Titans.
I've seen Jimmy Wyatt tweeting that out. And in fact, the Bears have confirmed that the first preseason game will be on Saturday, August the 12th.
Yes, at Soldier Field.
At Soldier Field. We have another preseason game time and date?
In Minnesota, 1 week after that, Saturday, August 19th, at the Minnesota Vikings for preseason game number 2. And then they will host the Patriots for that third and final preseason game, which I haven't seen anything confirmed that will also be a Saturday game.
Excellent. Polls.
Oh, yeah, baby. This poll update is shagadelic, baby. I have a Danger Powers here. I'm Austin Powers. Danger is my middle name, baby. This is one poll I'm interested in, baby. It's shagadelic. I haven't had an update in 2023 yet. Wink, wink. Oh, behave. Take it away, Lucas Panzica. Yeah, baby. Yeah.
Presented by Two Rivers Ford, who sells below MSRP on any non-specialty new Ford. What got you most excited from Titans rookie minicamp? Trey says nothing. It's rookie minicamp. Kenneth says Skoronski bulldozing 2 people in drills.
Yeah, he took out Jalen Duncan and another offensive lineman who were holding the pads for him in this second level blocking drill with him and a tight end, 83. I can't remember who the player was that he was working with, but Skoronski is as advertised, and he looks pretty damn good at guard.
How do you envision wide receiver Colton Dowell in the Titans offense in 2023? Donnie says the same way I envision every other 7th-round pick. I don't.
Yeah, I envision him in the room. If he's made it, it's because of special teams and he's picked up the offense. But beyond that, I don't think anything, any additional pressure that might be put on him, I don't think that's fair at this point.
Yeah, Titan fan 86 has a special teamer that might be able to catch a few passes his rookie year. Hopefully he is capable of more, but I'd rather be surprised than disappointed. Logan says he envisions NWI.
Jameson on YouTube says Jalen Duncan had that 79 on. I'd stay away from that number like the plague because that was famously Isaiah Wilson's number.
Right.
Jalen Duncan is wearing 79 as he gets pushed onto his back, and immediately somebody on Twitter took the one highlight of Isaiah Wilson's career, which is him on that field goal unit getting rolled over onto his back.
Is
so
there
79.
a 71 right now?
Not to my knowledge.
No, nobody's got Daly's number.
It's Dillard.
Dillard is 71.
It is Dillard, yes.
Levis haters, what was your reaction to rookie minicamp? 72% say I'm all in. 28% say they still hate the pick.
Okay, very good.
It's just sick on Twitter. It's just slick is the Twitter handle. Says, listen, I still think it was an awful pick, just like the Mariota pick in 2015. I supported Mariota regardless, and I will still root for Levis to do well, even if I don't agree with the selection. He is a Titan, and he's on our side.
Okay, that's fine.
I think that's where majority of people fall.
Sure.
Even if they don't like the pick, he's our guy. So what are you going to do?
I don't think a majority of people dislike the pick as strongly as the people who are disliking it loudly.
Who would be better on TV, Tom Brady or Matt Ryan? 68% say Brady.
I don't think so. I don't think either of them would be terribly good at television, but like Tom Brady, we didn't talk about it today. He's reportedly thinking about backing out of his $375 million Fox deal to become a part owner in the Raiders, I believe I saw. That was the report from Adam Schefter over the weekend.
What would your advice be to Ja Morant? Clayton says stay in your lane, Bo says grow up. And Roy says stay away from recording devices.
Yeah, recording devices. It's fine. Like, I don't care what you do with your firearms in your spare time as long as you're doing it in a safe and legal manner. But if you're Ja Morant and you've just been suspended 2 months ago for waving a gun around at a club, maybe don't wave a gun around the next time somebody puts a camera on you. It's just that easy.
That's both.
Excellent. That's the show. We appreciate you guys hanging out with us. Prime time tonight, 8 o'clock on the A to Z Sports Streaming Network. If I don't catch you there, we're talking more Titans tomorrow at 10 a.m.